Everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Behind the Mask. This is where we sit down with the people who are shaping the future of surgical care. So it's not just the technology, but the teams and partnerships that make everything work behind the scenes. For our very first conversation, we're talking about something that really matters in health tech. Are suppliers just suppliers, or should they actually be partners from day one? To dive into this, I'm joined by Mark Harrison, our Director of Client Services at Athera. Mark spends every day making sure that our customers get the kind of support that goes way beyond the software and into a genuine long-term partnership. Mark, thanks so much for being here. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your role within client services and what it means in practice?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for inviting me. It's great to be on the first Behind the Mask, podcast. It's going to be brilliant. Just to give a bit of background then, the role of Director of Client Services, it's a bit of an overview of everything that touches our customers, really. So in terms of what my role is within that, what I'm trying to work out is how do we deliver the best possible experience we can for our customers at every single touch point. So that might be our sales admin team and how quickly we can get quotes out to people that are responding to their requests. It might be as part of our implementation process to make sure that they're taking on board what the client has asked for, the problems that we're trying to fix, and then how we're actually doing that with the software solutions that we provide through the project management team and through all the different teams that sort of come under that different area. So that's sort of the role that I'm doing at the moment. And I think just to sort of make that a little bit sort of clearer, my emphasis is always on sort of what we can do for the customer, not necessarily what the customer can do for us. So it's all about how do we deliver an exceptional service as often as possible. There will always be mistakes, there will always be problems, but we want to own those as well. We want to learn from them, and we want to make sure that wherever possible, we're sort of focused very much on sort of partnership, advocacy, and real long-term success for our clients.
Great, thank you. So you talked a lot about what we can do for the customer, and I suppose the episode is all about that. So what's the difference from your perspective, I guess, from being a supplier and then also a true partner?
And it's quite an interesting one, isn't it, in itself? Because lots of suppliers out there are just quite operational. So they supply software, they supply services, they supply hardware, whatever. And the relationship between them and the client is pretty transactional. It's a case of just, this is what I would like, and we, as a provider, provide that. There's nothing wrong with that type of approach at all. What we want to try and do, though, is move away from that a little bit to understand really how the client works. So we want to sort of move to this real true partnership approach of who are our clients, what are their pain points and problems, what are they looking to achieve with our products and services, and then how can we help them achieve those? The way that we sort of look at this is that partners invest in understanding each other. We want our customers to understand where we're going, what we're trying to deliver, what our products are trying to achieve. But also more and more, it's about, how can we help them understand what the hospital's goals are or the trust's goals, what are their workflows and processes that they're working towards at the moment, and also any constraints that we can sort of help work around as well. And a bit of a soundbite, I'm afraid, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to make our customers into the heroes, not us. This isn't about us delivering brilliant service so that we can shout about it from the rooftop. It's about us delivering the best possible services so that our client look like superheroes in their trusts because we're fixing their problems with them. And that's what we're looking to try and achieve. And partnership is all about that. It's making sure that we build the trust to be able to deliver it. It's understanding those goals and those objectives that the clients have got in place. Usually those are all because they've got a problem somewhere. And it's how we understand the importance of that problem, the impact of that problem, and then how we can start to sort of move that forward, whether that's in patient outcomes, operational efficiency, client satisfaction, whatever that sort of looks like. What we're trying to help them with is if we understand them, they understand us, we can help sort of fix those problems. Now, that goes beyond basically just a transactional sale. So if I was just selling you something, Hayley, and you provided me exactly what I wanted, that's absolutely fine. As I say, the difference here is we want to go beyond that. I want to know why you need my product. I want to know what problems you're trying to fix, and I want to know how we're going to help by delivering that. So that's the sort of the approach that we want to take within Athera, is to be seen as a true partner and to help them move forward and to address their big problems. Does that answer?
Yeah, it does. And actually, what I really liked about what you said there is about making our customers the heroes, because what you see in a lot of from a lot of tech companies is it's all about the technology. The technology does this, technology does that, and actually, it's the people that are the most important. And I really liked that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose where we're at the moment is the people that we work with on a day-to-day basis are often hidden. Their processes are so well managed, so well delivered that the trusts don't see them as risks. You know, well, in fact, I'll tell you, first day I started at Athera Healthcare and looked at what it is that we're actually doing to support the trusts and the hospitals and the sites that we work with, is we're helping them to decontaminate all the instruments and all the reusable tools that are actually carried out in patient surgery. So again, I'm going to put you on now a theatre bed. You're having a small procedure. I think if I was you, I would want to make sure that everything that has been used in that procedure has been decontaminated properly, it's sterile, it's fit for purpose, and that I know that I'm in safe hands. Now, that happens literally every day. There are millions and millions of items that are reprocessed every day across the UK. What we do is just support a small part of that. And that's what we've got to try and help now, is build awareness of those teams that are doing such a brilliant job within the trust that actually the trust don't consider them to be a risk anymore. But we've got people that are processing the best part of 10, 12, 20 million items a year. You know, that to me, every single item that's processed is a potential risk to patient care. So why isn't it considered that way? Our product and our approach is just to help make sure that what we do is highlight just how good a job those departments are doing. And our product's just an enabler. Software is an enabler. It's not there to actually sort of replace or fix or do anything on behalf of teams. It's there to enable people to do their job properly and the processes properly so that they meet all the regulatory requirements. They can look at the data that's been collated and they can make sure that they can make improvements wherever possible.
Yeah, I agree. So if we're looking at that from a lifetime, so let's start with day one. They have an interaction with our brand, they have a conversation with a salesperson, or it might be the first conversation with your team. What does that look like from your point of view? How do we be that partner from day one?
So it starts all the way back to, I suppose, what you're involved with, really. It's the marketing piece. It's making sure that the touch points with the customer from the first time that they contact their healthcare is we're trying to understand a little bit more about what they're wanting to achieve. So we're looking at that, almost that customer journey of, we want the customer to be with us for life. It's not just for Christmas. It's not just a short-term contract. We want them to choose our product because it's the right product. So the first thing that we've got to do is to understand the customer, what it is they're wanting to achieve, and then how we do that. So that starts in the marketing piece. It then moves into the sales piece. So the salespeople that are working with the team understand the sector really well. They understand the processes that the hospitals and the sites are going through. They understand the risks of, if something goes wrong, what happens. And it's making sure that actually at all those points, we're asking the customer what their issues are, what are they looking for, what are they trying to achieve, so that we can start to build value from day one. So if we get to understand exactly who they are, their issues, their concerns, their problems, what keeps them awake at night. I know that's a bit of a sort of a soundbite, but it's exactly that. So it starts with listening. It starts with understanding the customer's challenges, and we don't present solutions. That's the way that this has to work, is you take on board what the customer is trying to achieve, and then you have discussions about, okay, well, based on the product sets that we have and the customers that are using them, here's some examples of how others have met those challenges, and here are some potential solutions that we can talk about delivering. Now, that's a really sort of the starting point to this, is building transparency and responsiveness. So when someone gets in touch, we get back to them quickly. We're building trust with every single interaction. So every time someone asks us for something, we're responsive. We're transparent in what we can deliver and maybe what we can't sometimes. And we make sure that all the way through, we're building trust in every single step of the journey. And if that customer then chooses our product as being the right product, we also then start to look at things like discovery calls and meetings with our technical team to make sure that actually we properly understand their requirements. So again, I wouldn't give you a quote to build an extension on your house without coming round first and foremost and having a look at your house, look at the lay of the land, what are the foundations like, what is it you're looking for? Are you looking for a nice glass conservatory? Are you looking for a tower at the side of the house? What is it that you're wanting to do? Because that's what our role is. It's to understand what it is that you want, what are you trying to achieve with it. So once we've done that, and once we've sent the right people on site, basically we create a document that often people call it a scope of works or project charter or whatever you want to call it. It's basically telling the customer exactly what we're going to deliver that meets their problems. So that's what it looks like from the beginning, and then it's down to my team then to make sure that that's delivered. So that's sort of the next step on the journey, basically.
It hopefully is really successful. What does that lifetime then look like with us?
Yeah. So once they've actually chosen Athera Healthcare as the supplier of choice, what we want to do is make sure that the process to get them to see value from our products is as short as possible. So we're looking at, the normal pieces that you would do. We would document everything as we've just talked about there. We share that with the sites. So we would arrange quick introduction calls to introduce them to the project management team and the people they're going to be working with throughout that journey. They're going to be then presented with a project plan and an understanding of the requirements that we're going to be deliver. So we're setting the expectations of what will be received, when it will be received. This is a two-way street though. So we will not do everything on behalf of the client. There has to be roles and responsibilities because the client has to make sure this fits their processes and their procedures. It meets with their requirements and it answers their questions. So we set all that out all the way through that sort of project piece. The team that we've got has got lots of experience in project management and working with customers in the healthcare industry. So we are giving people access to the right type of individual. We'll also introduce them to their relevant customer success manager. So these guys are absolutely brilliant. Basically, they will understand exactly what it is you're trying to do. And the reason I can say that with every bit of confidence is because between them, they've got over 30 years of experience working in sterile services, who are the key people that we're aiming to support through our products and services. So when it comes down to making sure that we understand them, they understand better than most because they've actually walked in their shoes. So that's the key bit for me. So we make sure that all the way through that process, we're understanding what the customer's trying to achieve and we're delivering a solution to actually make sure that we meet that. We then make sure that the customer knows how to use the product. So we've just brought on board a new customer specialist training person. So Connor, who's joined us, who's based over in Ireland, he's going to be working predominantly on the HSE project that we're working on right now. But his goal is to make sure that our approach to training is absolutely right. We want to make sure that our methodology, so that our customers know exactly how to use the product, how it fits into their processes, and how it also pushes them forward towards their different sort of regulatory compliance pieces. We want to understand things like ISO 13485 so we can actually push forward into those areas as well. How do we help our customers deliver the best possible service that they can? And we do that by understanding them and bringing the right people in to be able to support it. So we'll go through the onboarding process. We'll deliver the key values and milestones all the way through that to the point where actually the system has been delivered, the customer has seen value from it, and it meets all the requirements that they've highlighted in the purchase process. At that point, they're handed over into what we call business as usual. It basically means that the system's delivered and you're using the system in your own processes now. You will then be working again with your customer success manager. So they're with you throughout your journey with Athera Healthcare. They're really important to what you're wanting to achieve because they're identifying and working with you to look at where are there gaps that we might be able to help with beyond what you've initially implemented. You will also then have access to our support team, who again are massively experienced in this sort of sector, and they'll be providing that ongoing support that if you've got any concerns, queries, questions, niggles, they'll help you through those. Again, though, this is where Connor and the training comes in, because we're looking to build out a knowledge base that will support our customers to become a little bit more self-serve in that area. So if you think about how people, how do you surface information at the moment? If you want to know how to boil an egg, the first thing you do is you go onto YouTube and you search for a video of how to boil an egg. That is what people want. People want to learn in their own ways. So what we've got to do is we've got to provide those self-serve materials to be able to do that. So that's going to be part of that journey as well. Effectively, all the way through that is a collaborative effort. It's making sure that we understand what the customer's trying to achieve and then how do we help them achieve it. We can't just be going out of there thinking we know best. We always should be working towards the customer's best interests. It's not about Atheria Healthcare, it's all about our customers and our sites. So we want to make sure that things like discovery workshops, client stakeholder engagement meetings, training, the whole piece is considered all the way through that journey. And then when they're with us, we want to hear more about them from their perspective. So what do they think to the product? How is it working for them? You know, I'm going to take a breath in a minute and let you get a word in edgeways, but basically the whole point here is we want to learn how our products and our services can get better. So that's the methodology of partnership again, is to understand where we're going wrong and how do we get better in those areas.
No, yeah, I mean the changes that you've brought into the business since joining, and has it been a year yet, or just under a year?
Just over.
Just over
So,
a year. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gone fast, but obviously it's relatively new for the business. Having this way of working, having these different teams, and you talked a little bit about bringing on customer success managers and trainers and things like that.
Yeah.
So, what does that mean for customers? Obviously, things are changing, things are growing. How is it going to continue as well?
And well, it sort of fits into what I'm trying to say here is that I want to change the way that Atheria Healthcare works. I want to change how we approach our customers. I want us to understand that without our customers, Atheria Healthcare wouldn't actually be here. So I think that's the first and foremost piece I want to do. And actually taking on board and getting better. So part of the sort of the quality management systems or whatever you want to call it, ISO 9001, it's all about learning what we do and what we do well and what we don't do quite so well. So we've identified that actually we want people to work with our customers on a daily basis. That's our customer success managers. They will get to know our customers in depth. They'll get to know their problems. They'll get to know how our solutions might help them. And they will start to just give what I call sort of confidence to our customers. The idea here is, Hayley, if I was your customer success manager, if you were just a little bit concerned about something or you wanted to know how to do something and you weren't sure where to look, I'd be your first point of contact. And that's what we put them forward to be. And that is why the people that we're bringing into the business to fill that role have got experience working in that sector, because it makes life so much easier. I can train someone how to be a customer success manager. It's very, very difficult to train 17 years of decontamination. That is a really tough ask. So bringing people in that have got that background is exactly what we're looking to do. We brought Connor in as our customer training specialist, as I've talked about there. The idea behind that is that Connor's background is in different sort of areas. He's worked in pharmaceuticals, he's worked in big electricals, he's worked in huge companies. We want to look at how does our training process align? So what does that methodology look like? I want to be able to break down the different modules and then go, what are the questions that the customers might have around these? How do we make sure that they fully understand everything from first logging in to running the end reports all the way through their processes in between that? And then the other side, we brought in project managers that again understand the sector. We've got people working in the implementation team that have been working in this sector for a while. They know the products inside and out. And again, with the support team, same sort of thing. They might not know our customers particularly well, but that's not really their job from day one. They will get to know them over time, but so long as they know the product and they can help our customers answer their questions, that's what we're looking for. So we're trying to build a team here that really, really supports our customers. We delivered a workshop on this actually about sort of customer value, how we put our customers first, how do we make sure that actually everything we do should be about supporting and making sure that they get great value from our products. And that's where partnerships come in. So talked back at the beginning about sort of the partnership way of working. You can't create a true partnership without trust. You can't build trust without delivering on promises. You can't have promises without knowing each other well, because how do you deliver on things? So it's about building that over time, and that's where this sort of all comes in, about that regular check-ins, outcome reviews. How do we optimize our services to get better? How do we sort of talk about the just that commitment to continual improvement and co-innovation? Basically, we're looking at bringing on board feedback from our sites so that they can help us improve in those areas. So Athira Healthcare, you asked how long I've been here, just over a year now. Massive differences in the last 12 months. We've got way more to do in the next 12 months, but what I can say is it's all moving in the right direction, and the business is hugely supportive of it, and people are really happy to embrace change.
Have any sneak peeks for our customers? Anything coming up? Anything exciting? Not to put you on spot.
I mean, I'll probably get told off, but we've got something quite exciting coming in the pipeline around reporting pieces at the moment. So if I'll give you a bit of a sneak peek into my background as well. So the last 4 years, I've done nothing but talk about analytics and data. So how is this served back to individuals to make sure they know what they're doing well, what they're not doing quite so well, where they can make areas of improvement. We want to start focusing on that type of thing now from the product reports. So not just a static report that tells you how many instruments you've actually processed or where you've done something. We're talking about now the sort of the underlying data trends, and moving more into that sort of analytical style approach of how can I streamline, are we getting non-conformances from particular members of staff that might then need to be extra training. So it's how do I make sure, people have got real lives. We've got to bear that in mind as part of this process. They aren't machines that are doing this job. It is human beings that are sort of doing this. So people have bad days, and occasionally things will happen because of that. It's how do we capture that type of thing and then help the sites work with the staff to make sure it's an understanding of, is this a one-off? Is this a trend? How do we help them get better? Are we getting lots and lots of sort of fast track requests recently because we've just got too little kit? So how do we help people sort of understand those types of processes? Now, all that data is being collated in our software, but it's hidden away in databases, it's hidden away in static reports. We want to start to surface that in a much more sort of real-time view, so that, again, I'm providing you, Hayley, and not just as head of decontamination, but potentially as general manager looking after estates, how is that part of the business impacting the wider trust? So that's what we're sort of looking to try and do right now, is how do we start to sort of surface the information that is being captured and make sure it's being used in the right ways to streamline processes, create efficiencies, enable better patient care, whatever that looks like for those trusts and sites that we're supporting, basically. So I'll probably get told off for in fact, you'll probably tell me off because that was supposed to be in a marketing campaign, but no.
I like giving out sneak peeks. It's fine. You mentioned there about your experience in data and analytics, and obviously you've got a lot of experience in customer experience. So have you got any examples of where you might have seen, it doesn't have to be here, but where you've seen like a real transformation in a customer based on either our approach or anything you've talked about?
I mean, I suppose so. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It doesn't matter which it doesn't matter which product set you're working with right now. It's all about, as I say, making sure the customer can make changes in their own environments. So just little things like, if you are constantly sort of auditing your processes, you can make sure that things get better. So part of my role in the past has been to help people to sort of start to understand, how do they build out those regular checkpoints? So how do we make sure that what we're actually doing is meeting the goals of the trust? So how do we align our processes with the bigger picture pieces? And that's a bit that on its own and isolated doesn't sound like a great deal. But actually, when you start to build that into the different departments and the different sites across the trust that are starting to do this, you can start to see where change matters. And it's all about capturing the information that then drives change. So analytics is a great way to do that, and database that whole sort of big data background of looking at what is the data telling us? Where do we get better? So I've worked with multiple sort of care home-based organisations, care-based organisations, NHS trusts across the UK, across the world, in fact. But I've started to look at how do they do this. And the biggest outcome that they're looking for is driving better patient care. So the people that effectively really matter are the people that walk through the front door of those hospitals or care homes that are ill, that need looking after. So what we're trying to do, whether it's Athera Healthcare or whether it's other suppliers that I've worked for in the past, is we're constantly looking at how do we deliver the best possible patient care for that individual. Now, seems like a stretch, doesn't it, between sort of, I'm reprocessing sort of trays and surgical kit, that type of thing. But you wouldn't say that if you are then infected and get sepsis following, an operation, or an infection following an operation. You wouldn't say that if actually someone didn't count the kit back and actually there's a piece of kit still inside you and that you have to come back into the hospital to have that removed. Those are the types of things that we're trying to sort of stop happening. We're trying to make sure that the patient care is the number one priority for the trust. So we want to make sure that we can help with that. That might be in incident management, making, if you've had an accident in the hospital, to understand what's happened, why has it happened, and where can we change. So those are the types of things that data tells us. If you start looking across the whole sort of background of the NHS and recent sort of pieces around patient safety, there's been all sorts of changes made in that area. The PSERF piece around the patient safety incident reporting framework, and how we can understand what's happening, why is it happening, and how can we make things change to make them better. Surgical instrumentation comes into that process as well. So if an incident happens in the theatre area or the decontamination area, it will all feed into that bigger picture piece of how do we incident report this, and how do we learn from it, and how do we make change to make an impact to the people that matter, and that's the patients. So there isn't really one that I will say this has changed the way the world works. It doesn't work quite like that. But what I would say is that the people that have embedded the processes that I'm really keen on doing, which is to learn lessons and to change, to get better, people bring that into their day-to-day routine, and you'll see it across the whole of the healthcare guide is doing that. If they can embrace that and really drive that home and look at the data that has been collated and bring that together to make good decisions, the quality outcomes are based around, that delivers better patient care. That's the piece that sort of really matters here, is whether it's, decontamination, whether that's operations, whether that's just someone's got a slip in the foyer. It all matters. It's all about how to deliver better outcomes for those patients that they're dealing with.
You said something there about which I have a personal experience in. One of my friends from a long time, well, we've been friends since I was like 10. Unfortunately, she lost her mum. She went for an operation. It's very standard hernia removal, got an infection from the surgery and ended up with sepsis. Unfortunately, was missed and passed away way too young. And it's something obviously that I'll always remember. And then being a part, you said kind of before about how the customers that we help are often seen as in the background, they're behind the scenes, they're not seen as the biggest part, but actually every single part, like you said, plays such a huge part in patient safety when it comes to surgery. And it needs talking about so much more when there's so many personal stories out there that have been, like, people have been affected by issues. How can we and how can our customers really start to raise the profile of these teams and what they do?
I mean, first and foremost, that's horrific, and the problem is it's also not an isolated incident. That will happen across the whole of the NHS. I won't say on a regular basis, but that will not be an isolated problem. I don't really have an answer today, because actually I came across something the other day that highlighted this really clearly for me. So, huge process that's going on at the moment, an initiative around Scan for Safety that's looking at how data is related to patients. So whether that is an implant going into the patient, whether that is the procedure that the patient's undertaken, whether that is the operating theatre that we're in, the individuals that were taking part in that particular operation. It's all been recorded as part of the patient record in what's called Scan for Safety. Now, I saw a lovely image that sort of highlighted that and what it looked like, and everybody had their own unique barcode on there. And I thought there's one thing missing from this. And whilst there was a lovely picture of a practitioner leaning over a surgical tray, there was absolutely no barcode associated with that to say that the instruments that have been decontaminated, sterilised, and then brought to that operation are actually fit for purpose. And that just highlighted the whole piece for me, which is they are so hidden, and they are so hidden because they're doing such a good job that it's very difficult to highlight someone that's doing such a good job and sort of reward them. And it's almost like, you're doing too good a job, Hayley, that I'm now not going to actually worry about it anymore. It doesn't become a risk to the trust. Having spoken to Director of Quality Assurance around this doesn't come across their desk unless there's an incident like the one you talked about, where there's reputational damage, there's potential cost to the trust in compensation. There's all sorts of problems, and then things will change. They should be jumping ahead of that. And they should be looking at addressing these processes and going, we want to recognise someone who's doing a wonderful job in that decontamination, that sterile services piece, to make sure that that's actually recognised and rewarded. Because it's a very difficult industry. It's technically difficult. People actually have to understand exactly what they're doing. And then they're under the same pressures and risk constraints that the rest of the NHSs are about, cost savings, So it's going to be very difficult to sort of highlight beyond where they already are. All we can do now is to shine a spotlight on it. If we shine a spotlight on those people that are delivering this exceptional service, make them to be the heroes like I talked about at the beginning, then we start to sort of highlight the job that they're doing. And then we can start to change that image and actually make sure that the instruments that are being used on the patient, not just what's going inside them, not just who's carrying it out, but the actual scalpel that's going to open that individual up, that should be as clean as it needs to be, that's the type of thing that we want to change, is to change that picture so that sterile services and decontamination are part of it. Now, this behind the mask piece is all about that. How do we shine the light on those people that are doing a fantastic job right now? And how do we get their name recognised beyond, their direct line managers? How do we make sure the trusts realise that this is a huge risk to the trust, but just because someone's doing a good job shouldn't mean that we shouldn't look to try and improve it further. We should always recognise that people are doing a good job and reward them for that. So let's talk about them. Let's make them the star. Let's shine the spotlight on them, and let's get them on here, on Behind the Mask, to talk about their experiences and how they can help even further.
You heard it from Mark. Come and talk about your experience, and we want to promote it.
That's exactly it,
yeah. So a couple more questions for you. Looking to the future now. So I want to think about what do you want to see? So 5 years time, what's client services at Athera?
So we're on. Gosh, this sounds very sort of social media. We're on a journey. I think is the way to sort of talk about this. We've made some changes. We are moving in the right direction, but that's not going to happen overnight. This is the whole reason why I'm trying to build a team that is resilient, understands the market, and is great at their role. That then forms that unit, that client services unit that delivers true value to our customers. So over the next 5 years, what I would really like to see is, our training side of the business really start to take off, so that customers are absolutely confident on day one. They know how the product works and they can derive value from it straight away. How do we expand that CSM team so that we've got more people with experience of the sector working within the sector? So again, we can bring on board the feedback from those sites. There's only one way you can improve a product, and that's by asking your customers how it gets better. Yeah, we can be as innovative as we like, but if we don't understand what our customers are trying to achieve, we can't be innovative in the right areas. So that's the next part of that. the implementation process is good, but it can get way better. How do we make sure that actually what we're doing delivers value quicker? That's the key thing for me, is if you buy something, you don't want to be waiting months and months and months to get value from it. So how can we drive that value much, much quicker for you? How can we deliver a product and a service as quickly as possible to help you get value from it? So over the next 5 years, we're just constantly going to be refining our processes, refining how we work, internal training and development within our team as well, to make sure that the people know what they're doing and why they're doing it. Big part of my role is to try and make people understand where they fit into the big picture. So I often talk about sort of strategy and ideas and thoughts, but if you don't put that into context for an individual, they don't know how they fit into that. So that's a big part of my role here, is to make sure that any strategy or business objectives we identify as a business are then drip fed down to the people that are going to be helping to deliver that and are really important in delivering it. So that process has to be brought in. Not that it's not there now, but we have to make it better. To be able to help people keep ransom piece. So we train people so well that anybody would want to recruit them, but then treat them so well they never want to leave. So that's the whole piece that we want to sort of try and do here. So I think, just to wrap up, where I see client services in the next 5 years is to really embed the processes that I've brought in the last 12 months, and then really start to look at working with our clients to go, how can we get even better than this? How can we move forward? And how can we really understand how we're having an impact across your services and your trust, your sites, etc. That's my role. And I suppose if I put a bit of a business head on just for a second, if I do that really well, your team can shout about it, which means that we can market this and it becomes part of that sales process. My goal here is to create the best possible client services and customer service team that we possibly can, so they're the best service for our customers. Now that then becomes a benefit to Athera Healthcare, because you can shout about it all day long.
Yeah. What does that look like to you? What's your hope when it comes to how a customer would describe working with us?
I would like them to say that they understand me, that they understand my service, they understand what I'm trying to achieve, and that they're open and honest, they're transparent, they tell me what I need to do, when I need to do it, and walk me through that process all the way. So if someone talks about what is Athera Healthcare should be a partner that I can work with, that really understands what I'm trying to do, and then provides me with the right tools to be able to do that job properly. So that's what I want people to talk about Athera Healthcare as being not going to go down the route of saying a caring, sharing organisation. It might be, but people care about outputs and outcomes. What they're really after is, how do we help them do their job better? And if we do that and we're proactive in doing that with them, we help the product innovate, we help the product get better because of what our customers and that sector is actually telling us, then what you will get back is, Athera are great. They really understand what I'm trying to achieve, and they're helping me do that in the best possible way with their systems.
I think that's the perfect way to end. So have you enjoyed speaking to me today, Mark?
Oh, I always enjoy chatting to you, Hayley. It's it's one of the highlights of my day. Thank you.
Oh, that's
Thank you for inviting me on. It's been really good to chat.
All right, and thank you for joining. So that's a wrap for our very first episode of Behind the Mask. Big thank you to Mark for joining me today and just sharing some of those insights on why partnership matters so much in health tech. So if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe and follow along. We've got plenty more episodes coming up with the people who are helping to shape surgical excellence, often in ways that you don't see every day, like we talked about today. And if you'd like to feature, just let us know and we'll be in touch. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Mask.